Hey y'all, today we're gonna fix some macaroni and cheese, southern style. Now I know a lot of you like this macaroni and cheese. So if you need something quick, you really don't care about having the real thing, and you're the only one that's eating, sure, go for it. But if you care about yourself and the people who's eating your food, start first thing, some macaroni. And what would macaroni and cheese be without cheese? I like the shredded cheese and the sliced cheese, and I'll show you why. You need something to boil your macaroni in. Nice size pot. I say about 1/3 of the pot with water, just enough to really cover the macaroni and give it a space to puff up. Then you're gonna need something to actually bake it in after it's done. You need milk. We use 1% low-fat milk here because we're not trying to gain any weight or any cholesterol issues. But you can use whole milk if you like. I don't like whole milk, so I use low-fat milk. Also, today we're going to be using a stick of margarine. I normally use a stick of real butter, but we don't have any today, so we're using margarine. You also need your seasoning. Only seasoning you need is salt and pepper. Don't be adding none of that other stuff, the Cajun seasoning and all that crap. No, no. We are in the deep South, not the dirty South. We're in the deep South. We're in Mississippi. You can't get any deeper than that. And here we make real macaroni and cheese. And of course, I like a little sugar in mine because I like it just a little bit sweet. I like the salt and the sweet together, but some people don't. So if you don't use it. But this is all you need to make homemade macaroni and cheese. It's so quick and so easy. Okay, the first thing we want to do is make a fire. You don't want your fire to be too high because as it boils, it will boil over. So we're going to have it kind of like at a medium temperature. You only want to use enough macaroni to cover the surface of your pot if you're using a pot this size with this amount of water. And you can see there's about half the amount of water to macaroni. And that'll give it a chance to boil good and to puff up without a lot of straining. And one thing you want to do that I didn't mention earlier, when you're dealing with pasta, pasta sticks. So in order to make sure your pasta does not stick, you want to put just a little bit of oil in it. Just a little bit. Just enough that you can see a couple little bubbles like that. And you want to kind of mix it up so that it will hit your pasta. And as you see, that's just the green, that's just a little teaspoon of a taste. Nothing worth talking about. It really does nothing for the macaroni. It's just in there to be pretty. But you let your macaroni start to come to a boil, and you just want to add a little salt. Yeah, I know they look like more than a little, but it comes out kind of slow. Add a little salt just to tenderize it a little bit. And there, once you see it get cloudy, that means that the oil and the salt have gotten hot enough to let your macaroni start boiling. Okay, you always want to stir your macaroni while it's boiling so it won't stick. And by the way, if you think this is some delicious chicken, which it is, look at my other video and you'll see how we air fried the chicken. Okay, back to the macaroni. While the macaroni is cooking, I like to get my sauce ready. So first thing you want to do is get some of your margarine, and kind of, we don't measure things in the South. We kind of like just eye it out. You know, each one of these is probably about a teaspoon. So we want to put at least 3. Since it's not butter, I use more. If it was real butter and not margarine, I probably would use a lot less because it's sweeter and it's real butter. You can actually taste the flavor of butter over your other ingredients. So we want to melt this in the microwave. Be very careful about what temperature you put your microwave on and how long, because butter will burn really easy. It actually melts at different speeds. So you may have a little butter that's melted in the bottom and still have sticks in the top. And that's why I cut it into little cubes. That's okay. And you see the texture? You still have loose butter and you can still see a few of the little chunks. But the butter is so hot that if you stir it around, the butter will melt into it. Okay. The next thing you want to do is start adding your milk. So we want to put enough milk to have enough sauce. It's better to have enough sauce than to not have enough sauce. And you want to stir that. You really want to see a nice blend of milk and butter. You don't want it all white from milk, and you don't want it all yellow from butter. You want to kind of get a little swirl of both, and that way you know that you have the right amount. And we want to add our seasoning. And this is the only season that we're going to use. We are not going to add a bunch of stuff that's not necessary. So we want to add pepper, and this is freshly ground pepper. You want to add enough that you don't have to add a lot to your macaroni after you start making it. You kind of want to make sure that everything you need is already in here, and that should be enough, because we don't want it peppered down. We just want to be able to see a little pepper here and there in the macaroni. And that's what you want. You want it to look a little bit like peppercorn. You can see that. Okay. And of course, we definitely need salt. So the macaroni is done. I'm going to bring it over in a little bit. But we're going to finish this sauce since I talked so long. And all we really have left to do is add the sugar. And you want to add the sugar to taste. If you like sweet things, you like your macaroni sweet, then you put a little more sugar. If you don't care for sugar or sweet macaroni, then you put less sugar or no sugar. Either way, make sure you have a nice sauce. See that? That's worth something. So what we want to do, since our macaroni is ready, I want to take the extra margarine, and that's why I kept it here. And I want to line my dish with it, because if you don't put anything in the bottom to keep it from sticking, that's when you get macaroni that's stuck at the bottom of your baking dish. So that should be that's enough. You know, it depends on how big your dish is. I'm only making a little small amount today because it's not, but maybe 4 of us gonna eat. So I'll let that butter stay there for now. And I will come over to the macaroni and double check, because I want to make sure that it has the proper consistency. It's not sticky. You see how it falls off? That's because of the oil. It's very little water in it. Let's see. Very little water left. That's why you only put a 50% ratio. I know 50% is not a ratio, but you know, you want to do 1 and 2. 2 water, 1 macaroni. So after I grease my pan, I like to line it with the Velveeta slices. And people may not like this step. They may just like their macaroni with just a little cheese. But I believe a dish that's called macaroni and cheese should have macaroni and cheese. Otherwise, you just have macaroni with a sprinkle of cheese. But I believe if macaroni and cheese is in your name, then the main things you should taste is macaroni and cheese. And we do that with the slices. I like the Velveeta slices because they melt quick. If you've ever done rotel, which we may do rotel, you know that Velveeta block cheese melts really quick. So the slices kind of do the same thing. Usually, like I said, I like cheese. So I take my partial cheese, which is sharper, and I just sprinkle a little bit in the bottom to kind of cover those spots where the cheese separates. And that way I know I have cheese everywhere. Now, it is at this point where I think most people make their mistake. Okay, when I do my macaroni and cheese, I make sure that the macaroni that I'm using is already strained, because the utensil that I use is actually a straining spoon. And I like to take the macaroni and just place it where I want it. And I try to cover the bottom of the macaroni dish with a layer of macaroni first. That way, I know I have covered the bottom of the bowl. It's even. So that means that everything I put in will be even. So I will go back and I will add a little more shredded cheese. And if I had been making a big thing like I usually do for the holidays, I would go back to back with slices and multi different types of cheese. Because I like sometimes to add a little mozzarella to it. It gives it a little different taste, but not much. Just cuts down a little bit on the sharpness. Now, if you're trying to do a quick macaroni, you always can just drain your macaroni in the pot. Once you drain all of that off so that it's not starchy, you can just add your sauce into the pot and you're done. But most of us prefer to bake. All the ingredients before I put in the oven are already done. That is my main thing. I've already spent time cooking it, I've taken time making a sauce for it. I don't want to spend all day waiting on it to bake. So I'm going to keep layering it with just another layer. Make sure I'm straining it really good because I don't want any starchiness, and that's what you get if you don't strain it good. I mean, it's not like rice where you dry it off, rinse it off with water. You kind of want your macaroni to still be macaroni. And you kind of lose a little bit of the macaroni too if you wash it off, because macaroni is very, very, very tender. And it will come apart if you try to put too much pressure on it. And that's one reason I like to strain my macaroni with the straining spoon versus straining it in a strainer, making it move from one container to the other, to the other, to the other, because that's when you start losing the macaroni and you end up with a paste. So I've layered another layer of macaroni because we're not making a large amount, and that actually gave us the right amount of macaroni. See, we don't measure stuff. We just kind of eye it. So now I'm going to go back with my shredded cheese. Yes, macaroni must have cheese. If it is white and there is no cheese, unless you are making white macaroni and cheese using white cheese, you need to add some more cheese. It's just a no-no. In the South, it's a no-no. Other places, I guess you can get away with whatever you want, but not in the South. So see, that's another layer of cheese, covers the macaroni. Now it's at this point, and I like to add my sauce. You remember the sauce that we made earlier? It has the butter, it has the milk, it has the seasoning, and we're going to take it and we're just going to pour it across the macaroni. And we want to make sure it gets everywhere, that all of the macaroni is covered. We want to make sure all of the cheese is actually covered by the sauce. The reason we want to do that is because when it goes into the oven, the sauce is going to soak into the macaroni the same way it does when it's boiling. If you do not have enough sauce, see that? See it a little bit. You don't have enough sauce in there, you're going to have half done macaroni and cheese, because your macaroni is going to have one flavor on one side and a totally different flavor on the other. Now, of course, I know you didn't think I was finished with the cheese. So I like to take another layer of the Velveeta slices and line the top of the macaroni. And that gives it a nice coating, so that when your macaroni gets done, which the only thing you're really doing is getting the ingredients to set together. But when it's done, it actually creates a really good coating. And if you remember, we did one coating on the bottom and we're doing another coating on the top. And so that locks your macaroni and cheese in. See that? So now we're going to put it in the oven. Okay. When it starts to bubble, that's what you want. You want it to start bubbling so that all the ingredients will mix together. That's the ends. That's how you get that nice crunchy end. Okay, let's put it back in for about 15 more minutes. Well, this is the finished product, and apparently it's very good because before I could even get it out the oven, somebody got it out the oven and took half of it. But it looks really good. So, see you next time. I'm imkimberlyracin.
Kimberlyracin, she step on the scene. 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 K-I-M